Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsors over at Streetside Brewery. So happy to have them sponsoring this episode and many others of the Postcast. Streetside, located at the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood over on the east side of Cincinnati. You can find them at 4003 Eastern Avenue. Just an awesome brewery. It's a great place to watch a game. I love watching away games there for FC Cincinnati. It's also just a nice, relaxed atmosphere to enjoy some of the best beer you will find in Cincinnati. They also have a number of events going on all the times. I can tell you, coming up this week on Thursday at 7 p.m., it is Beer and Bingo over at Streetside. And then this weekend, Saturday, if you're there before the FCC game or maybe you can't get tickets, you can catch Anthony Hiley from 3 to 6 in the tap room, and then Jonathan Cody White from 7 to 10 there. Just an awesome place that is always having a whole bunch of events, great beer. Love these guys. Check them out in person or go find them in wherever you're picking up beer for your next event. Cannot speak highly enough about Streetside Brewery, and thank you to them so much for sponsoring this episode of the Postcast. And on today's episode, we have a fun one for you because we get to talk about an FC Cincinnati win. That's right. We recorded right after the match against Atlanta on Wednesday and talk about FC Cincinnati getting a win. How about that? How about that Kevin Kelsy? Anybody else remember old Brandon Vasquez anymore? I don't either. On to the new shiny 19-year-old striker we have up top for this team. Part 2, bit of a news roundup, a look around the league, around the world at some different news topics. We wrap it up with Part 3 with a look ahead to this weekend's matchup against St. Louis City coming to town. Can the team get revenge for that weird tornado drill delayed match last year? We'll have to see, but boy, is this a fun one to talk about. 5-game winning streak. Let's talk about it on the Postcast. And joining me to talk about all of that and more on such short turnaround, joined by the Chief and Grayson. Chief, let me just start off with this one. Fun to record immediately after a game, huh?
I was trying to think, what was the last time we did this? Was it when we did the show live after Hell is Real in Columbus last year? Like same night recording?
Yeah, that was probably the last time.
Vibe's way different for tonight than that show.
After a home game?
After a home game.
I feel like we've done an away game. I feel like we've done an away game that we watched on TV and then rolled into our
I think we've even started an away game recording while the game was still going on.
Yeah. No, I'm thrilled to be here on another winning night for the FC. And this is what we do for you, the 12 listeners, is that we had discussed putting this episode off till Friday, but nay, we have a obligation to all of you to get your content out there on a Thursday, and get this content out there. We will. And
now, hold on a second. 12 listeners. Let's be real. Okay.
14.
12 listeners, 15 team employees, 27 crew fans hate listening. 53 people from other FC Cincinnati podcast various group chats to like clip things that mainly I say just to use for future blackmail purposes
or receipts.
And like 87 bots with their various body parts in their bio.
Yeah. That they do want you to click on, though.
Right, but you never see the thing.
No.
You never see it.
I mean, maybe you don't, but
I get a command, I follow it, okay?
Yeah, you know, they tell me it's in the bio. I'm going to click the bio. I don't know. I'm curious.
Someone from Intelligencer, I think, clicked like through and was like, you never see it. It's not in the bio. It's not in any of the links.
Damn it.
You know, I kind of want to be a reply guy, I think. So, like, what if I just started replying to every tweet?
XG in bio.
Or pod in bio.
Pod in bio.
Yeah, just like every MLS or FC tweet, just respond pod in bio. And just, I don't know, drive some content here. Drive the listenership here.
Ken, I forget his last name, for The Intercept, does that with his newsletter.
Ken Clippenstein. Yeah, he does. He's like this crazy, look at this crazy thing. And then the next thing is like, subscribe to Ken Clippenstein on Substack.
That could be the Chiefs new thing. Like, wow, Biden's really lost it. Learn more in our podcast.
Right. Can you believe what they said on this show? Click to listen.
Most people can't, but do, I would say.
I don't know.
Chief, I will say, normally on this podcast, we learn about Grayson, gallivanting about Europe or his various run-ins. Yes. Yeah. However, I think it was this evening you got to live that life of luxury there. How was your seats? I'll let you reveal as much as you want. How are your seats tonight?
My seats were delightful. I was offered some last minutes in the Tunnel Club, so I'll give a special shout out. Thank you very much to the wonderful friend, patron, friend of the show that couldn't sell these tickets because it was a Wednesday night game and no one was biting.
Wait, was the person who gave them a Patreon?
I think so, actually.
Ooh.
You got to up that Patreon.
if you got Tunnel Club
oh, no. His money is no good now. He doesn't need to.
I didn't. We can't split a Tunnel Club seat.
Yeah, they need to add a couple more seats onto their package, is what I'm hearing.
What I do know, it was wonderful. It was lovely. Food was delightful. But, impossible to properly appreciate on a weeknight when I know that I have to come back here and record. I didn't want to show in hot on re-entry. But who did appreciate it was Mrs. Chief, who rarely comes to these midweek games. But when I told her what the seats we would be sitting in were, all of a sudden she was very interested in attending the game tonight. So she bumped a couple other friends to the back of the line for these. I had to send some text messages saying, sorry, you've been trumped. Yes. And so
that's also what I told people this afternoon.
After you spent $50,000 for lunch.
When I was at lunch in Indian Hill.
So here's a fun thing to think about that. We had a number of team owners at that dinner. Their entry fee was
we can't confirm any of that.
Sure. Allegedly.
We had at least people who are related
to
team owners.
Unclear which lenders exactly were in that house.
And we don't know we know only one member of the Farmer family confirmed.
Yes. But I will say their entry fee.
Although I will say.
Oh, please.
Please do. Or actually, please don't, depending on what you're about to say.
Yeah.
Never mind.
There we go. Kevin Kelsy, baby.
Oh, I was just going to say, the entry fee to that bad boy is about half the yearly salary of Luca Orishano, according to the latest leaks. So that's always fun to put in your mind. Yeah. Wow. What a game, huh? FC Cincinnati wins. That's 5 wins in a row, gentlemen.
5 in a row. A question to begin the conversation this evening.
Please.
Do you think Pat Noonan knows you can win a soccer game by more than 1 goal?
I've had this thought, and I think I've come to terms with FC Cincinnati is a lot like me in college, or I should even say a Pat Noonan FC Cincinnati team is a lot like me in college.
Doesn't score very often.
Unnecessarily angry and only tries when it has to. Okay. Yeah. I was a big believer in the sort of like effort to reward ratio in school. So like you just put in about as much as you need to get the grade that you're aiming for. That's FCC, baby. This team is putting in the exact amount of effort it needs to get the result at once and no more. Versus Columbus, they had to try quite a bit. Against Atlanta, 25 good minutes should do it.
Yeah.
And then they can just take their feet off the gas.
Yeah. We are the Orange Cassidy of soccer teams. We're going to try selectively depending on circumstance or situation. I don't know. It would be fun. I love how we keep predicting on this podcast they're going to win 3-0 or 3-1. It's like we all know they're only going to score one more goal than the opposition.
These aren't real predictions.
You're not trying?
Half of mine is just wishing, but yeah.
just saying stuff that makes us feel good.
Yeah.
Speaking of feeling good, Kevin, how are you feeling when you saw the youth movement was continuing tonight when the lineups get released?
I mean, outside of a Brett Halsey, which I understand isn't the most youthful of youth, but he looks it. I'm counting him. Outside of a Brett Halsey start at wingback, this was about as youthful of a lineup as we could have realistically expected.
Brett Halsey is young in the sense that, like, a millionaire's son who gets arrested on a low-grade felony, who's 25 years old,
it's just a boy.
Is just a young boy.
Right. Wayward youth.
Or how, like, our hero, Donald Trump's 40-something-year-old son is like a good boy.
Yeah, right.
He's a good kid.
He's trying.
It's all relative, baby.
Halsey, I'm including him in this, and maybe you don't have to, but I really like the fact that the front line was led by two 19-year-olds. That is awesome and effective, as we saw tonight. Like, wasn't the 10-0 you would have hoped for, and honestly what it looked like it was going to be after the first couple minutes. But yeah, you gotta feel really positive about this team right now.
It's good. It's good in that they're winning. You know what? It's good that they're winning. And I'm not going to be mad or think about problems that might exist down the road. It's good. And you just hope that they never get themselves in a situation where they got to score like 3 or 4. Because
the way to score 3 or 4 is for other people to create. Because if other people create, Lucho is going to get his goal contribution.
He's trying. He desperately wants it at all times.
Yeah. And if, like, Kubo gets an assist to Baird, right? You're scoring 2 that game because Lucho is going to come get his assist or goal.
Kevin, why don't you read this lineup? Because I have an important question to ask once we get through the preliminaries on this.
I do. So the lineup for FC Cincinnati going into this evening was Roman Celentano in goal, Ian Murphy, Matt Miazga, Miles Robinson from left to right, Luca Orishano out left, and Yuya Kubo out right. Wobodo, Buka, and Acosta was your midfield trio, with Acosta in that attacking midfield role ahead of the other two. Kevin Kelsy and Dado Valenzuela up top. What was your thoughts, Chief, looking at this bad boy?
My thoughts, run it back. I didn't think they were going to do this. I genuinely didn't think they were going to do this. I didn't think we were going to get the Halsey, or I'm sorry, the Dado Kelsy combination. Dado, not even a striker by trade,
right?
Gets the start at striker when there are other healthy options available at striker.
Getting paid considerably more money, 10 times as much money, I think.
There was a perfectly good Sergio Santos on the bench. Good in, quotation marks here. Awesome. Kelsy, awesome. And you had to feel it. Like, he was all over the pre-match graphics. So my question is, him getting a start, is this a midweek thing, or is this a sign that Kevin Kelsey's here to play minutes, start matches? Is he really the Brandon Vasquez replacement?
I mean, if he wasn't going into this game, I think he is it coming out of this game. Like, he looks incredible. Like, his movement in the box, he's a giant target for Lucho to just fling the ball up to. He is coming back and playing defense. He presses like a peak Brenner. Like, I'm trying to think of like the last striker that we really pressed like that. It's great.
And he can receive the ball and like just kind of like fight off a defender with his body.
Yeah.
And just buy time. like, I don't think another player on the team has that ability.
Yeah,
no.
He took some balls off the chest that were just, man, like we haven't seen a player like that since Brandon Vasquez. Like, nobody else on this roster can do it.
The problem is the balls he's taking off the chest are like balls that would hit other players in the head on this team.
That's a good point. Not a lot of tall boys out in the midfield or even up top.
Not a lot of strapping men at the front of the formation. Second question.
Yeah.
Why don't they just run this play all the time where Lucho dribbles down to the end line and flicks the ball back across the goal to a Kevin Kelsy who is drifting aerially away from goal, but still heads it back right at the far post. It feels like this play works every time they run it. Let's do this more often.
I think they tried it a few times. I think that there is occasionally a little bit of like a miscommunication that I think they'll iron out, where it felt like, specifically with Orishano, like Orishano would get the ball to the end line and would play something like kind of tighter in goal. And at the same time as Orishano's like hitting the ball, you would see Kelsy kind of make a move to the 6-yard line. And I think that that's just like them being out of sync, maybe, or having like a little bit of a different idea there. I think that'll get ironed out. So my answer to your question, Chief, is they're going to.
Last year we talked about the Cincinnati play where it was like Obi wins the ball in the midfield, Lucho passes it out wide to Barreal, who would then cross it into Vasquez to score. It worked perfectly all year. I think we might have just found the successor to the Cincinnati play, which is like
the Slavia Ukraini or something.
The defense of Crimea. This is the Lucha runs to the end line. He's out of room. This is it. Throws up the Hail Mary, and Kelsy slams it home from right inside the 18. It's perfect.
It's like Zelensky's revenge. Yeah, it feels like one of those. If you ever played Madden back in the day, there was always a broken play that would just work every time.
Yeah.
In the old NCAA football games, it was shark halfback wheel, where the guy would just always be uncovered on this play.
Yeah.
Feels like that right now. Whenever they try to get the ball to Kelsy back post, I would just do it all the goddamn time. Because
so Kelsy had a comment on that, actually, apparently, according to Carter.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought this was going to be a Broadway World headline.
No, it's not. It says, so Carter's tweet from a couple minutes ago says, Kevin Kelsey's goals have looked very similar and what the skill FCC have needed. He's not worried about getting stale. Quote, at the end of the day, you have to finish. If they defend me far post, I'll go near post. That's just logic. Kelsy said with a smile.
I love this guy. I love this guy.
That's perfect. Perfect answer. Like, how do you respond to that?
Can't. That's like some. That's some Nikolai Jokic shit right there. That's if they jump, I go under. If they go low, I go high. Basketball is boring, and I hate my job.
So I before we get to Kelsey's goal, which I guess we've already gotten to.
We're there.
I do want to mention, so like the beginning of this game.
Oh God, are you the
insane?
Flop?
Yeah, what the hell?
Just like, so like, I've thought that so you think about refs, so people think like what a ref's role is, right?
Yeah.
Is like
team captain of the third team.
I'm just calling balls and strikes, or like,
sure,
I'm just enforcing the rules of the game, making sure everybody stays within the lines. And my complaint with some pro referees, and I've said this on the podcast before, is I think some of them some of them think of themselves more as like the director of a film.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of imposing like their artistic vision on a game and how they think it should flow and what the rhythm should be and stuff.
Yeah.
And the beginning of this game felt like the beginning of like a movie where when they just like get you like in media res and there's just like a bunch of like action, like all of a sudden, and then there's like a record scratch, and it's like, I bet you're wondering how I got here.
Right.
Laying on the ground at TQL Stadium, and there isn't even a third digit on the clock.
Because I feel like there was like, I feel like the first 5-6 minutes of the game was just Uncle. It was like people like dropping like flies, and Uncle like intervening like frantically for like no reason, including like that flop at the very beginning.
What was that?
I didn't see it. I still haven't seen it. But
Yeah.
but for the life of me, stretching my imagination, I can't imagine what would have justified that guy flopping at the beginning of the game right there.
It's a bold move. I mean, nobody sees it coming. Nobody sees the first minute flop happening. Maybe the thought is that if he flops so quickly, they won't have turned the VAR machines on.
The cameras aren't on yet. I mean, it's like
we were talking to Mike Watts, and we were talking about the Opie incident, where the Opie incident actually caused them to miss kickoff. Maybe they were focusing on something else in the crowd, the drummers and the Bailey. And was it Yakimakis that was the flop E on this one?
I think so.
I'm never going to pronounce his name right. Whatever, the Greek guy.
Yakimakis.
And like he thought that maybe they missed kickoff, and I can get away with one right here. Draw cheap red.
It just like, I guess the idea is Lucho has a bad reputation, so if you just charge at him, you might get a lucky call. Like, I don't know, it's so weird. It doesn't make any sense. Also, if you just like charge directly into somebody's personal space and collide with them, like, aren't they necessarily going to put their arms up in defense or something? So strange.
This game was a clown show from an officiating point of view. And the only thing good I can say about it on balance is that Uncle wasn't out there spamming the yellow cards to everyone.
That was helpful.
Right.
Which was good, but just there were some calls in this game where no one on the staff was covering themselves in glory. I'll put it that way.
Right. There was like an absurd call in like later in the second half. There was like an absurd call that was called for a gold kick that was like clearly off Murphy. And you could tell that like Murphy was like so pumped that he like got away with one. And then like 2 minutes later, they made an egregious call on a throw-in where they called an Atlanta throw-in when there was like no chance. It was like an Atlanta throw-in. And it was just like, but that's like what the game felt like.
Yeah. Just nothing went
like
the way you thought it would.
They made calls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
they weren't like necessarily related to anything that was happening on the field.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, any referee performance that doesn't see us, be penalized with a penalty, no cards awarded to any FC Cincinnati players, no weird, bogus injury sit outs. Like,
but again, like if these were the replacement refs, there would have been highlights galore of
like this was a postmodern referee performance. It was like if Derrida was a referee.
Also, if you, like me, assumed Ted Uncle was retired or retiring, as best. No,
you're gonna bleep that.
It's not making the cut. As far as I can tell, Ted Uncle tweeted something like 2 years ago, "Wow, last time I'm wearing this badge," and it was the FIFA International Match badge. So, as far as I can tell, he has self-imposed some sort of I'm not doing FIFA matches anymore. I don't even want to call it a retirement. And he's just going to keep doing domestic games as long as he wants to because I don't know. So, yeah, everybody got really excited and said he was retired, and he is not. It will not. So we have many more performances like this to look forward to. So that's fun. It's always a good time. I
do think this was worse than any replacement official performance.
Yes. No doubt.
On the balance of the game, yes. I can think of an individual moment or two from the replacement refs, but like,
like it was an awful awful performance. And it was not in a way that, like, I thought, disfavored us or favored us. Like, either way, like, it was just like, what are you doing?
Right.
The entire time.
I think if you were to listen to an Atlanta United podcast about this game, they would walk away saying the officiating was terrible in this match as well, which just goes to show you that we don't just bitch about the referees when we lose. We bitch about the referees when we win, when it is justified because the officiating is terrible. There is internal consistency here that I think deserves respect, and I'm going to I think we should pat ourselves in the back for that.
Yeah, look, we just call balls and strikes.
That's all we're doing here.
We're just like Johnny Roberts.
Wait a second.
We just
at the very end of the game, there was a corner where Assad and Lucho were, gonna play it together, and Uncle blows the whistle to restart play. They restart play, and then he blows the whistle to stop the corner kick so they could reset. I do not know what is happening when the referees do this. I've seen it a lot actually in the Premier League. They've done this like weird thing where it's like they restart play and then it seems unfair for some reason, so they make them reset it. Very strange.
He also seemed to like care about where the ball was sometimes. Like where the people were taking like throws from or kicks from. It was very much like, I care now, but no other time.
Right.
You have offended my sensibilities with how far out of position you are, and you must be
jazz,
corrected.
Right? It's more about like where the ball isn't played from.
I referee by feel. This doesn't feel right.
All right, so let's talk about this then. Yep. Kevin Kelsy, awesome goal. Talked a lot about that, running the play they should run all the time. And it felt like in the minutes after that, this team was going to score 2-3 more goals. They were dangerous. They were goal dangerous. There were a lot of dangerous balls being played. The team looked feisty, good passing. And then, like, all of a sudden, the back line forgot how to pass. And there were some of the most egregious turnovers, I think, that the back line has committed all year. And as a result of that, the game got really choppy. It felt like FCC had difficulty passing consistently. There were a lot of poor balls being played. They got bailed out a lot by some of the worst long balls I have ever seen from Atlanta, where it felt like they were mashing the button and just conceding goal kicks, trying to play down the right-hand side, trying to take advantage of Orishano. They didn't get the second goal in the first half. They didn't get the second goal in the second half. How worried are we that this team just can't seem to put teams away?
It's a concern. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. But I genuinely believe what I said at the beginning. This is a team that just sort of knows when it has to try. That, like, they understand that it is a full season campaign, and they really let their foot off the gas on this one. And they were just sort of, I don't know, like the backline, like you said, just wasn't being as sharp. It almost felt like that they wanted like an extended training session. Hey, Yakumakis, hey, Almada, for the 16 minutes that he was out there. Let's see what you can do. Let's see what a proper challenge might look like.
Speaking of Almada, he like Brennered his hamstring, right?
Oh, yeah. The second we scored, he was like, oh, we're going to get blown out. I don't need to be on the field for this.
I'm out. Deuces, guys. You let me know how this turns out.
What a disaster for Atlanta, by the way. Like that, they have this incredibly high evaluation. He may very well be worth it. But if your team isn't playing up to it and he loses faith in the project that they have going on there and he isn't performing as well anymore, it all goes to shit. Like, I mean,
I don't fault them for having evaluation on him.
Agreed.
To be clear. But like, there were like, he needs to set the MLS record. And I don't know what they paid for him. I assume they paid in the 8 figures for him.
Yeah.
But like, they're all saying like $30 million.
That's insane.
I don't know that anybody is like paying $30 million for any MLS player.
Yeah, it almost reaches a point where like teams are lukewarm on ever giving this league that much money. That there's simply no one in the league that you could possibly justify paying that price for, just because you know the quality of the league and that player doesn't exist here. It's funny with Atlanta too, that this is a team that's kind of in a tailspin right now. I would assume their manager's getting canned sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And they've got Almada, who, like you said, is doing the Brenner speed run, it looks like. And word came out today that Giacomakis had a bid put in by Cruz Azul, and they denied that. And that they need that like a hole in their head. If Giacomakis decides all of a sudden, I'm being held back by this team, I want to go someplace else, and they're denying bids from bigger clubs for me as well. If I were an Atlanta United fan, I would not be in a good place right now mentally, I don't think.
Yeah, with the Giacomakis thing, I mean, I don't know. Like he's the DP.
Yeah.
They paid like $4 million for him directionally. You get an offer for 6. What's the draw? Like, what could Cruz Azul say to him that attracts him? Right?
I don't know. Like, we're gonna increase we're gonna double your salary from what?
Just double his salary.
You can play on grass.
Like that's true. But like if Cruz, like, it's not like a Brandon Vasquez situation where like FC is like, oh, we're not going to make you a DP.
Well, they couldn't. We literally couldn't make.
Literally couldn't. And Monterrey is like, we'll pay you $3 million or whatever the number is. Like if Cruz Azul comes to Giacomakis and they're like, we'll pay you $5 million. Well, Atlanta's could just easily be like, we'll pay you $5.5 million. Like,
yeah, but like I would take half. I would take half as much to not have to live in Atlanta.
Well, there's something to be said for like the team is not going in the right direction, and some of these guys might just be looking for any sort of lifeline out. But I also sort of assume that Cruz Azul news was just sort of like leaked from Cruz Azul side to sort of show their fans like, hey, we're trying to add some more talent.
Right. Like $6 million doesn't feel like. It does not feel like a real offer for this guy. Like, this guy's been scoring like a goal a game or something since he joined MLS.
Yeah, can you really put a price, though, on not having to deal with Atlanta traffic for the rest of your life?
Yeah. $10 million, you probably got Atlanta's attention. But
like the Almada thing, I get. Like I don't know. I don't follow it. So like I don't know what offers have come in for Almada. But if somebody came in at like, north of 20.
Yeah.
And Atlanta's like, no, we need 30. And Almada's like, no, I want to play in Europe.
Yeah, 20 for Wolves sounds great. Yeah.
Like I kind of get that.
Yeah. Brace yourselves, fuckers. Kevin Kelsy keeps scoring like this. There are going to be people bidding in the summer for his ass too.
Yeah. But it's different for the Brenners. It's different for the Brenner situation because like people were like, you can give him to us for free.
Right.
I'll bet
we might pay you some amount of money for him later.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest was loan him to us, and if we stay up, we might give you a big transfer fee.
Right.
Like, cool.
Like that's a different type of thing than the Almada deal.
Yeah. Almada, they paid, I had to look it up, $15 million transfer fee in 2022.
Yeah. So like if somebody comes in for like, north of 20.
Oh no, a $5 million profit in a couple of years.
And Atlanta's like, no, we need 30. You could kind of understand.
Right.
That because like, what's the record out of MLS? It's in the 20s, right?
I think it's Almiron at 22 or 25, somewhere in there.
And Almiron was like better in MLS than Almada is.
Yeah, way better. And slightly more proven before he came to MLS as well. He was an established.
Yeah, so he went to Newcastle for 24 million euro.
There you go. So yeah, 25.
In 2019, when he was
25.
25.
Yeah.
Brenner's still here rocking the number 9 outbound transfer of all time still.
Look at that.
Yeah. How about that?
Take that.
That's right. Take that, haters and losers.
You'll never sing that.
You'll never sing. Yeah, you'll never sing the overnight outbound transfer in MLS history, which would be an insane thing to sing.
Bailey, you got something to sing on Saturday.
Go ahead, there, Das Harsh.
I'll take him back on a loan if Udinese pays his salary.
Yeah, and if we stay up, we might offer a transfer fee. So that's Almada. So yeah, I really, Grayson, I'm glad you brought that up. I had the same impression because he comes down in the 16th minute. Kelsy scores in the 7th. In that 10 minutes or so between those moments, it really did feel like FCC was going to score like 4 or 5 against Atlanta. And it genuinely felt like he was quiet quitting on the field in front of us.
Typical millennial. Boring first half otherwise, though. Not a lot happens after, Almada goes out.
Boring stuff all the time. Like, I get an alert on my watch every game. Like, you need to chill out. You need to do a breathing exercise.
Have you tried deep breathing?
I don't know if anybody else does. If anybody else gets this, but like, I don't find any second of FC Cincinnati soccer boring.
No. In the moment,
I'm like always about to have a heart attack every second of the game.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be mad at every minute during it. But then, like, you look back in hindsight after you've had your de-stressing moment. It's like, yeah, they didn't really threaten a ton. Like, they had a couple decent shots.
I will say the movement of the ball is fantastic. Like, it is so funny when you have these moments of like Buka and Kubo combining and finding Kelsy in the box, and the ball bounces out, gets cycled back around, and you realize on the other side we have Orshano, Dado, and Lucho just working guys. Like, holy shit, this team plays differently from side to side, especially with Dado. He is so active and his movement is incredible. His touch is awesome. Like, I understand they didn't score a lot more goals, but they passed the eye test tonight, and genuinely, until they sign Boop's replacement or Bupenza is perfectly fully healed and he's worth getting a run out, there is no reason not to start Acosta, Dado, and Kelsy up top every single game and let them figure it out.
All right, here's your reason. Here's your question why. Because we got the salary dump info today. Yu Kubo's still making max TAM money, allegedly.
Like,
sure.
High TAM money, yeah.
Which is
starter money.
It's surprising because we had been hearing about like FC rejecting his option.
Right.
And, negotiating a deal to get him back on the team at less money. He's on more money. What's going on here?
What was the option, Nykamp? What was the option?
Did the option include points in the team, like an ownership stake that they had to turn down?
It included one specific piece of property that has increased its valuation so much that to give it to him would necessarily make him a DP.
He had the rights to build a Japanese alcohol bar on the development site next to TQL Stadium. The only fact we know about him is that he likes to drink Japanese alcohol.
And he sometimes went on vacations to Japan's capital, which is...
Yeah. He goes to Japan once a year.
Yeah, he goes to Japan once a year on holiday with his family. That's all he needs.
Yeah. And apparently, somehow, he just never gets a pay cut. And he's worth it. He's worth it. I have no problem with this.
I love him. Yeah.
He's earned it this year and for honestly,
sure. So you talk about the Kelsy and Dado start this weekend. I think yes, but only because Kubo either needs to start at right wing back, or if Yedlin is available this weekend, let's give Kubo a little break.
Yeah. Kubo as the super sub makes more sense because he is so good everywhere.
But I do think that Kubo should, I think if you're we need to put together a best 11 and win a game because it's like an elimination game or whatever. I think on this team, it's Kubo and Kelsy up top.
I agree, but man, you give me a month of Dado and Kelsy figuring it out. I think the ceiling's higher.
They might figure it out, but like if we need to win an elimination game tomorrow.
Well, here's the question:
Is Kubo and Kelsy for me?
Is Yuya Kubo one of the best 11 players on this roster right now?
Yes. Right now, yes.
Then you have to find a spot for him if he is one of the best 11 players on the roster.
But Valenzuela's 19. His future's with this team.
Is Dado Valenzuela one of the best 11 players on this roster?
He's one of the best 13 players on this team.
I would say maybe one of the best 14.
Who has a brighter future than Dado?
Well, that's a different question.
That's the question I
Dado
want to
answer.
answer.
Dado has a bright future.
Because
for sure. Like Dado's a pro. Like Dado's like, this is proof of concept for the academy, right?
He could help a lot of MLS teams now.
Kimi was nice and he did nice stuff in like MLS Next Pro, and like I'm glad he's like getting run out over in Sweden. But Dado is your first real, like, the academy is capable of finding and providing players who could help the first team.
Yes. But this is the way I look at it. Unless we are genuinely going for the Shield, which, oh, by the way, we're very well in the running there. Thank you, Miami, for drawing tonight. We don't have a must-win game until Leagues Cup, and your mileage may vary on how you value Leagues Cup. I
don't mind I don't mind rotating.
No, I
don't mind like giving Dado like time. Right, because like I don't think he's like bad by any means, and I don't think it's a situation where like
no, we're not downgrading to keep him in the lineup or anything. Yeah. But I think it's worth it to give him this experience, especially when we're 2 games running now where he has essentially started, and we're winning, baby. Like it's pretty good.
We're winning, but I just have a hard time. My take is, and shoot the messenger if you want, if DeAndre Yedlin is healthy, DeAndre Yedlin should be the right wing back.
Yep.
And as DeAndre Yedlin...
Hot take. Impossible. I can't believe you said that.
Right.
I'm so mad.
My God. You'll never...
This is toxic fandom.
There are people that would contend that.
Pod in bio. If Yedlin is starting at right wing back, then I want Yuya Kubo as striker. I think that Kubo and Kelsy could be more fun than what we've seen from Dado and Kelsy, I think.
I agree, but I think that, like, you know, since Kubo gets thrust into various positions, like today he got moved up to like the 10, right?
Yeah.
When Halsey came in, like Kubo gets put into positions where he puts a lot of miles on his legs, right? So, like, I'm fine with Yedlin at right wing back and doing a little bit of rotation at striker and giving, like, you know, Dado some runs out and even Baird some runs out. Like,
yeah,
I don't think we need to, like, use Kubo every single game.
But let me ask you guys this. If, let's say, Kubo is otherwise unavailable, Baird is healthy, Dado is healthy, must win.
Dado.
Yeah. All right. So he's already climbing up that depth chart, baby.
I mean, you're asking me a Corey Baird question.
My reason is I think Dado has a little bit more of the ability to create for himself.
Yeah.
And also he's better coming back and like switching with Lucho. If you want like Dado to come back and like play in like kind of that 10 position.
Yeah.
And let Lucho play up front. Like, I think Dado is just cleaner. Like he's so nice with it.
Yeah.
Nice. Dado. Number 69 in your program, number 1 in your heart.
Yeah.
Nice.
He needs to have Dado on the back of his jersey, too. Like, I feel like Valenzuela on the back of the kit. Dado on the back of the kit, that fucks.
I agree. Dotto on the back of the kit
There's
how it should be.
There's a couple of MLS guys with the first name nickname on the back.
Obina has his first name on the back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
You don't gotta go far, man.
Also, I think Dotto just needs to drop Valenzuela entirely and just go Dotto, kind of like the Brazilian thing.
Agreed. I'm there with that.
Yeah.
Right, because people don't get Valenzuela.
No, but
Like,
they get Dotto.
It doesn't play. Nobody like says it right. People say like Venezuela or Valencia or whatever.
Right.
But like Dotto, it's just like Dotto. That's
Dotto.
my guy.
That's my guy, Dotto. Like, Valenzuela walks into the bar, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. But somebody says Dotto just walked in. Everyone's like, who the fuck is that? Hell yeah.
Dotto's here to
we're
party.
ripping shots. Dotto's here. Is Dotto old enough to drink?
No, not even close.
All right, then shots of water. Gatorade or whatever.
Body armor, sir.
He's closer than not.
The not being born? Yes.
Yes.
Ghost energy drinking vodka. Let's do this.
Oh, God. Just reinvented Four Loko. What else about this game? So here's my question for you two. Second half doesn't go swimmingly. What is different from FCC trying in the first 25 minutes to whatever the second half is? Is this an effort, or like, I don't want to say an effort thing, but maybe it is, but like, what is going on? Is it a tactics thing? Like, hey, we're just going to sit back behind the ball. We think we can defend this lead.
I think it was just sloppy. Like Kubo made the worst pass I've seen this season.
Yeah, it was bad. Just straight, like a perfect through ball if he played for Atlanta.
Perfect through ball to like the Atlanta player. And
So
I don't know what, like, I don't know. Like, you could make like a million different excuses for it, I guess, but
I got the numbers right here if you're interested from
all
FOT
right,
Mob.
let's
From
go,
FOT Mob.
I
Chief.
think I am.
Let's go.
Second half, FC Cincinnati, more possession, more expected goals, more total shots, more big chances, more accurate passes, more corners, more total shots, more shots on target. Let's see here. More total passes, more accurate passes, more passes in the opposition half, more accurate long balls, more accurate crosses, more throws. Like, I know it didn't look pretty, but numerically, they were the better team in the second half, too. And I understand you're the home team with a lead.
Yeah, I don't think Atlanta created anything. Like,
Yeah.
I think like the only dangerous moments were when we gifted the ball to them in a bad spot.
We were their best offensive production all night.
And like, I don't really know what to say or do about that, except like, you know, just
Knock it off.
Play better next time.
Yeah. The only two things I will remember from this second half was Brad Guzan acting like a lunatic on a set piece in like the 80th minute, where I thought genuinely he was going to go up and take the set piece to try and give them an extra person in the box. But instead he ran all the way down to the field to basically tell what the play was to one of the Atlanta players, and then trucked all the way back to his end. Just Guzan is the most extra dude when it comes to
I have
ball.
a theory about that.
Yeah.
I think he was pretending to talk to his teammates, like pretending to talk in his teammate's ear to try to like make FC Cincinnati think they were doing something crazy.
I buy it. Like, if we
reverse
scouted
reverse
them,
psychology there.
yeah,
I think he was trying to do some type of like mental trick.
yeah.
He doesn't look like a guy that's a deep thinker, though. So,
Yeah, but he's a guy who would think that would be like a thing that might work.
yeah, fair enough. The only other thing I remember from this second half was Lucho Acosta almost doing his Lucho Acosta thing at the end of the game, dribbling through the entire Atlanta defense.
Yes.
And getting a shot on frame that Guzan had to bat away for a corner kick. Single-handedly almost put the game away by himself there. And
I would love to know how many touches Lucho got in the box at that thing.
Yeah, we were probably down on touches in the opponent's half until just that one play with Lucho.
Lucho, that shot for an XG was a 0.47.
God.
Your X got, which I forget. Expected
goals on target
was a 0.93 opportunity. So, which I assume is good because they don't go to 1. Yeah, that was a cool moment. And that's one of those moments where it's like, yes, absolutely. You will have moments throughout any match where you're frustrated with how Lucho is performing. And then he does that and you go, yeah, it's all worth it.
Yeah,
you do have to remind yourself that, like, Lucho is the artist.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Like, you can't like get too frustrated with him at like any individual choice. You have to like step back and look at the whole picture.
Yeah. Just beautiful. Yeah.
Big dub.
Let me just say real quick, at the end of the night in the Eastern Conference, FC Cincinnati sits second behind Inter Miami, 1 point behind them with a game in hand.
Did Miami tie tonight?
Yeah.
0-0.
With
0-0?
0-0 with Orlando.
Messi didn't even
play. I know.
Didn't travel.
Messi didn't travel. I know.
They truly,
but still 0-0. Jesus,
they are absolutely useless without him. Like,
but that's crazy.
It doesn't make sense.
It's also crazy that like Orlando didn't score.
They're a
bad.
weird team.
You can't score on that team.
No, they're just bad this year. For a while I was sitting there thinking that there was, oh no, Orlando's going to figure it out. Orlando shows no signs of figuring it out.
Very weird. So yeah, that's not too bad. Looks like Real Salt Lake is going to cruise to victory here. So they are also in third in the overall supporter shield, 25 points. That's 2 behind us, 3 behind Inter Miami. Yeah, not too bad. New York Red Bulls hanging out there at 23 points, worth keeping an eye on.
So I think that I don't think we're going to like really be in the shield race unless we like sign a big DP striker.
I mean, a third of the way through the season, we're right in the thick of it.
But I was just going to qualify that by saying that, like I also was concerned about the team's like kind of pattern of close wins last year. Yeah, and so like, you know,
it appears to be a repeatable skill at this point.
They keep winning, so you know, there's no real rational reason to think that they won't just keep winning.
We are the only team in MLS on a 5-game win streak. And so for those of you who get mad at power rankings, if any of them come out after Wednesday, but before the weekend, feel free to be indignant because
I think that we should stay low on power rankings.
All right.
Because they don't matter and they may motivate somebody.
Well, my thinking is if we stay high on the power rankings, that gives us a good net score so that the MLS playoff committee will give us a good seeding going into the tournament.
That's true. I forgot about the MLS playoff committee.
Yeah, we got to worry about the BCS computers. Our goals for, goals against is an absurd. We're 16-10. That's just an absurd number with this many games played.
But we have like the 4th or 5th best goal differential in the league. I
want to add, like, Roman played really well tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I do want to mention that before we move on. Roman played a really, really good game, and he did something you don't see from him very often. He came out of his area to clean up a ball that was potentially going to end up being a 1v1 or at least a tough play for Orishano to cover down the right-hand side. He's playing confident right now. It's a lot of fun to watch.
And they're giving him the ball in, like, kind of nervy situations. And like, is he making like a messy kind of pass with it? No. But is he finding like kind of a tidy place to put it? Yes.
I'm telling you, this game genuinely feels like Noonan said, All right, first 30 minutes, we take it to them. And then after that, it's a training session. Roman, I need you to face a couple of one-on-ones. So, Kubo, make sure you pass that ball to Yakavakis. We got to see how he does. Boys, feel free to pass it back.
Yeah, at the end of the game, it's like green team wins again.
I was very nervous with some of the balls that were played back to Roman. And, not a single time did he do something that was like dangerous, right? Yeah. Like he always found a teammate.
Man's QB1.
And you can say what you want about his distribution, but he did not get. I'm not sure he's ever gotten to like a when playing it out of the back goes wrong moment.
Yeah, I mean, if you were just looking at the two of them, Schulte and Roman, like this season, insane to think that Schulte is getting call-ups that Roman isn't. So,
well, like Schulte does like longer passes that might look good, but Schulte frequently gets caught.
He's also just a worse goalkeeper. Are we allowed to say that?
Yes.
At some point in the modern era?
He's worse at stopping the ball from going into the goal.
I mean, we can also judge our strikers by how well they play goalie too, if that's how we want to do this.
We can judge our strikers by how they press.
Right.
Or we can judge our strikers by how they put the ball in the goal.
How dare you? Oh God! Is there anything else?
It feels like a Pep thing. I feel like this is Pep's fault.
It really
it's like
is.
Every player is judged by how well they do the thing that's least important for their position.
Because when you're at Manchester City's level, you have to analyze the tiniest of tiny marginal increases over the next best available guy. And that marginal increase costs you an extra $20 million in the transfer fee. So stupid. That's just not what you're going to get with an MLS goalkeeper, guys.
No.
Anything else for this game?
Nah.
Put it to bed.
All right. Well done. This will be a win that I have a feeling we will never remember come the end of the season. So that takes us over to part 2, where we're going to talk a little news roundup around the league, around the world. Then we'll wrap it up part 3 with a St. Louis preview. So we'll catch you there. Hey, I've got to run to the restroom here real quick. So we'll catch you over there in part 2. And before we head on over to part 2, I want to tell you about our sponsors, Cincy Shirts. These guys, let me tell you about these guys. Do you know about these guys? Let me tell you about these guys. Cincy Shirts has been around from the beginning. If you ask me, and nobody did, Cincy Shirts was instrumental in FC Cincinnati becoming very, very popular and eventually leading to their MLS bid, which is why I am so excited that the Post and the Postcast are able to partner with them. Look, here's the deal. If you use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, when purchasing something from them, you get 10% off, and we get a little bit of money back our way, huh? It also lets them know that you heard about them through our show. And even if that's not true, it makes me feel good, and it makes them feel good. So use that code. Look, they just released some new Hawaiian-style shirts. I don't know if they're actually Hawaiian-style, but some new floral prints for FCC, some button-ups. Get on this. The supplies do not last. However, they do have 3 in-store locations, including a new one over in Loveland, where they can print most of the designs for you on a shirt. The button-ups, I don't think they can do on demand, but they can print those designs on demand in a shirt on any size that you'd like. I've definitely used that service. It is awesome. So again, the promo code, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, knock a couple bucks off of your next order. It works on non-FCC gear too, all right? Get yourself an LA de la Cruz shirt or something like that. You're gonna look good in it. You're gonna have a good time. And you're gonna save a couple of bucks doing this. So Cincy Shirts, again, cincyshirts.com, link in the description, the code, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps. A huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this and many other episodes of the Postcast.
Welcome back to the postcast. We're into segment 2 right now. We're going to do a little bit of an MLS roundup grab bag. Grayson's idea was to pretend like Kevin isn't here for this segment or is just being quiet. I realized immediately that everyone knows Kevin isn't around when I start doing the intro and the hosting duties for the show anyway. So I guess we can just give up the ghost.
Kevin
because
died.
Kevin's dead.
That he suffered a event, we'll call it.
An event. Yes. An incident, if you will. We don't want to say that what that incident was or how serious that incident was, but just know that our thoughts and prayers are with him at this time. Grayson, let's get started here with segment number 1. I'll introduce this one. Olivier Giroud, the all-time leading goal scorer for the French national team, makes official what I think we all probably knew was happening this summer, as he is moving from Europe to LAFC. Giroud signs a deal with LAFC. He will be joining them, I believe, imminently as soon as the summer window opens, and they can add him to the roster. He's an aging superstar, but is indeed a superstar. And he's one of the rare aging superstars who seems like he's still in pretty good form over in Europe right now. He was very good when he was playing for Chelsea. It seems like he's still scoring goals for AC Milan, or was scoring goals for AC Milan. His international days are behind him. But where does this rank in terms of a signing in your mind for MLS? Is this a big deal, medium deal, or no deal whatsoever?
Well, I think the stature of the player is a big deal. And I think he's going to be a good player in the league for sure. Because I think we're still seeing it in Europe, right? But his skill set is one that that you can keep, later on in your career, right? Because he's always been more of a finisher, more of a smart movement, get into position,
Fox in the box
service
type guy.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna be really successful in the league. I don't view it as it. This feels like this feels just like by profile though, like a regular MLS signing. Like we've seen very big players come into the league at the end of their career. Some of them do really well. You had Henry and Villa and
Zlatan.
Others, Zlatan. But this is not a move that I think changes, reverberates around the league.
Right.
This is a move. This is not like a messy move. And it's not one where it's like Busquets signs a TAM deal. You know, like the reporting that I saw is that he's going to be a DP for LAFC, and he should be.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a great signing for them. It's a good signing for the league. And I like that it's a DP because I like that, that's what you're supposed to have to do to get a player like that.
Yeah,
it use one of your DP spots, which again, I think it's a great use of the DP spot for LAFC, but this is a signing where you knew LAFC was going to use their DP spot. They were going to use it on a really top player. They used it on Olivier Giroud. It helps LAFC. I don't think it's reverberating.
Right. I like the fact, and I like the point that it's a DP signing that is making DP money, because my fear with some of these players was that you were going to see players like Giroud go to LAFC and magically become a TAM player. And we all know would be getting paid under the table, or there would be tomfoolery to make the deal fit. Giroud is a DP. He's worthy of the DP contract. He is worthy of the money, and I'm happy that it seems like they're playing by the rules here, which is all I ask for. I think we've said that. I think you've said that. Yeah. Just follow your rules. Follow your roster rules. You want to sign Olivier Giroud? Yeah. LAFC probably had the inside track to sign him, and probably one of the only teams that could have signed him just based on the location and the appeal to, the player who has to decide that they want to live in the United States. There's only a limited number of places you're going to find a player like Olivier Giroud probably open to going. That's cool. That's an advantage LAFC has, but they shouldn't get the double advantage of also not having to pay him market wages or not having to fit him into MLS roster constraints where his salary and his stature demand. It's interesting, like with this signing, though, is that MLS, and I don't know how many people that are listening to this care or give a shit, but before FC Cincinnati came into MLS, I would suspect that a lot of people in Cincinnati didn't follow this league. I didn't really follow. I didn't really follow MLS.
I didn't follow MLS until like a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Like I kind of started watching during the pandemic because there was nothing else to do, but I didn't really watch MLS even in the years leading up to us joining. 2019, I didn't watch any MLS.
I just watched us.
I only
watched us. And that was, we talked about, and it was not a joke. I mean, it was a joke. It was a bit, but it wasn't a joke.
Right.
Where we said one of the things we would often say early on in the show was that I don't watch MLS.
Yeah.
That was true.
Yeah.
No, I watched FC Cincinnati games, and I watch more MLS than I used to. I still don't watch a ton. I don't know that it's hard because all the games are together or they're after hours on a Saturday, and I just don't want to spend my Saturday night rushing home to catch a late game.
No. But, which is why I do wish that part of the FCC pub partner thing, it would be nice if some of these places did commit to showing more MLS games. I know that like they have to keep people in a bar and maybe MLS is poison to that, but it would be nice if there were some places reliably around town where you knew they've got the Apple TV deal to show the FC. Maybe they also show the West Coast game afterwards. That would be neat. That's a topic for another show. But if you don't follow MLS and you don't really know the history of this league, which fair play, I wouldn't either if I was in your position. MLS has fought really, really hard over the last 5 to 10 years to push back on the stigma that it's a retirement league, that it is a place where aging European stars come to get one last payday before riding off into the sunset at 10% of the effort for 50% of the talent that they had when you remember them playing. And it's been a real mixed bag of people that have come over from Europe at the stage in their career that Olivier Giroud is, or like Lionel Messi is. You know, you had Zlatan come over, and Zlatan, even selectively trying, was still incredible. Like he still produced things for this league, highlight moments, and was a genuine attraction. But for every one player like him or Messi that can still go, you've got a Steven Gerrard who comes over from Liverpool, plays incredibly forgettable football for LA Galaxy, and most people would be forgiven for not even remembering that Steven Gerrard actually played in this league. Or Frank Lampard for New York City Football Club, where he comes over and he's kind of just a shell of himself, and whatever was spent to bring him or whatever cachet or of, you know, branding or marketing was given to this signing wasn't worth it when you saw just like what a washed player that they were receiving. So it's always interesting to me that MLS spent so much time trying to say, no, we're not just going to be this league that pays aging stars. And now the two biggest signings in MLS in recent memory, Lionel Messi and Olivier Giroud. And I don't know, this is a different type of aging star that they're getting. Messi is Messi. You can't even compare that to anything. But Giroud very much feels like a throwback type signing to the signings that this league used to make and was trying to get away from. I don't know. It's I'm excited to see him, and I was openly advocating for the FC to go after him in the summer just because I think his skill set, as we've seen from Kevin Kelsy,
would have been so good for us. Yeah,
yes, would have been perfect for us.
Yeah, so on the aging stars thing, I think it's tough to say like biggest signing, because I mean, Giroud is, I think, free transfer, so like by dollar value, it's not that big of a signing for the league. And then as far as like profile, well, I think it makes sense that players who are established are going to have bigger profiles than players who aren't established.
Right.
But like Thiago Almada was a big signing for Atlanta. Like that was a guy who was viewed as a big talent for Argentina, went with them to the World Cup, still a young player, and Atlanta's thinking, I mean, I don't know if their thinking has changed, but you know, they were thinking we can get $30 million in an external transfer for this guy.
Right.
Redondo at Miami was a big signing. There were some real teams linked to him. Ricky Puig in another way was a fairly big signing.
Yeah.
Given his age and that he was a player for Barcelona, not like the best player for Barcelona, but a guy who
he was there.
He got on the field sometimes, and he could have gone to a lot of places in Europe. And I don't think there's anything wrong, even as the league improves, with using DP or TAM spots on well-known players.
Right.
Just because, if Giroud doesn't sign with LAFC or doesn't sign with MLS, right? He probably signs with Marseille.
Yeah.
Or,
he's still going to sign with a big.
Yeah, he's going to sign with he's going to sign with a real like a team.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like this or retirement.
Or he's going to take a big payday in Saudi Arabia. He seems like the type of player that would do that. It's interesting.
Or if he was going to retire, it's not because he can't play anymore. It's just because, he's tired of living in like a, dense urban area and would rather, if he's going to keep playing, would like to live on a beach.
Right. Or own a winery in Bordeaux or something like that. And that's what he's really looking for in life.
He doesn't have to play. He certainly, I don't know. I guess I don't know the guy's finances, but he doesn't have to play. No. So I don't think we need to be, self-conscious about big players signing with MLS when they get older. Because there's always going to be a good crop of mainly South American young players coming through.
Right.
There's a lot of Americans who are in or around the U.S. national team that, are raising the standard of the league, keeping it high. And, as long as, I don't know, as long as they don't sign, some marginal guy who's 38 years old and comes in and just dominates, every second of every game, that's not great. But
you did not good for the brand when the guy who's too washed to play anywhere else. But yeah, that's not Giroud. Giroud still was playing at a very high level in Serie A.
Yeah.
That's
scoring
not
double-digit goals in Serie A.
It's interesting too. This is another thing that it's interesting to me. So I'm perpetually online. I found this came across my For You feed on the Bird app. And this is nobody special. I'm not putting anyone on blast. It's just an Atlanta United fan with, a couple hundred followers. But he tweets this and it got some numbies. And so it came across my timeline. He says, as an Atlanta United founding member, I am jealous of what LAFC does every season. I'm confused how every season we pack out Mercedes-Benz and then the front office lacks the effort to provide above and beyond quality on the field and bench. We deserve better, hoping game-changing changes happen soon. This is in reaction to the Olivier Giroud signing. And it's interesting to me that in this league, even though there's a salary cap, and even though there's roster parity theoretically, there definitely is a stratification starting to happen, and you would have to be blind not to notice it, of sort of destination clubs that can attract players like Olivier Giroud, and clubs like the rest of us who, it wouldn't be the player in Europe's first choice to live in Atlanta and play on turf, or to live in Cincinnati and play on any playing surface other than, maybe Bitcoin that they were allowed to keep after they were done playing. And I don't know if this is an issue yet in MLS, but at some point it's going to be an issue. Just because if you're going to limit every team to spending the same amount, there is to a certain extent almost an inverse cost of living thing where, maybe you do need to give a little more cap space to teams like Columbus, Cincinnati, Atlanta. I don't know about Atlanta, but it's a pretty metropolitan city, but maybe even Atlanta, where they're in this, what you would call flyover country. And they need to be able to offer a little more money to get to entice some of these players to come live versus the more cosmopolitan cities like New York, Miami, and LA that seem to be destinations for these big time players. I don't know. It's going to it definitely encourages creativity where you're not targeting the same type of player, but it feels like it's going to come to a head eventually, that there's just two vastly different realities that you live in MLS based on locality when it comes to attracting international talent.
Yeah, I think as long as for the most part, like guys who are true DPs are being classified as DPs, it doesn't feel like, other than Miami, maybe some players just aren't interested in coming if they don't go to LA or New York. But like LA can only sign so many DPs and U22s, right? Like, and you got discovery lists, you got mechanisms already in there that are supposed to allow smaller market teams to not be crowded out by bigger market teams for these foreign players. And like, the best two non-Miami teams in the league are us and Columbus.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't seem like, you can't sign players. And like, yeah, we're not signing Olivier Giroud, but there's other strikers in the world who are gonna put up numbers for you.
Yeah, I just prefer if they spoke French, they were the ones that don't speak French insults to boxers late at night.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then on the big cities, like I know that within the US there's this view of like Atlanta, Philly, Chicago, Boston as also being like big markets. But I have no idea that like any cities in the US would really move just a random foreigner's needle other than like Miami, LA, New York.
Right. I think you're right. I think you're right on that. I think that there's what we perceive as big and what Europeans and foreigners perceive as big or cosmopolitan, I think, are two very, very different things. The only last
people don't know Cincinnati, but bring them over, show them the facilities, right?
Yeah. Show them the Mercy Health Training Center.
Take them to a game, like
world class.
World class.
Put their name up in lights on TQL Stadium. The only last thing I'll say about Olivier Giroud, and if you were present for this reference, it was one of the funniest things I've ever heard, and it stuck with me forever. And that's that there was one game where Premier League announcer for NBC turned turncoat for Live Golf Arlo White described Olivier Giroud as having a meaty French forehead, and that's all I've ever been able to think of whenever I hear him or hear his name said from this point forward.
The way I'll close Olivier Giroud is that we will, in all likelihood, get to see him when LAFC comes to town in, I think, September.
Yeah.
And I haven't checked this, but I'm going to assume it'll be the first time that he and Matt Miazga will be on a field against each other since France played the U.S. men's national team in a pre-World Cup friendly. And
it wasn't so friendly as it turned out.
They had a bloody coming together of heads.
All right, here's my question for you then. All right, so we'll cap it off with this. When this meeting happens, Olivier Giroud versus FC Cincinnati, who will have more goals, Kevin Kelsy or Olivier Giroud?
By the time that happens?
Yes.
I'll go Kevin Kelsy. He's going to have a head start.
Yeah. The summer window is going to help out on that one. All right, let's pivot here. Suspensions. You want to introduce this one?
Yeah, there was a so this apparently was like a months-long saga, but it all got dumped into the last couple of days.
Much like the Drake and Kendrick Lamar feud, boiling under the surface, and then all of a sudden comes to our attention suddenly and loudly.
Yeah. So at the end of the NYCFC Toronto game, there was a on-field scrum. Tom Bogert tweeted about it a couple days ago with some video. I mean, it's pretty aggressive.
Yeah, like, it was hockey looking.
It was a real. I don't want to say brawl, but for soccer players, it was a brawl.
Right.
And there were 3 Toronto players suspended, 1 NYCFC player, and Toronto's coach. So it was 3 games for Richie Larea from Toronto, 2 games for Prince Owusu from Toronto, 2 games for Strahinja Tanasiewicz from NYCFC, who was getting, for some reason that I've not seen reported, special attention from Sean Johnson in the brawl. And then 1 game for Sean Johnson, and then 1 game for Toronto's coach, John Herdman, who came rushing in at NYCFC's coach during the post-game brawl. Now that is, I don't know that we would even bother talking about this if it didn't have this other aspect to the story.
Hit me.
So Toronto's coach, who, I'll put my priors here. Since he was the former Canadian men's national team coach, I got no love for this guy.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of his, just generally. He comes out and he says that when the teams played against each other 2 months ago, NYCFC's coach cornered Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. Well, he said a 19-year-old player from Toronto. Toronto's only 19-year-old player is Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. So that is a deduction.
Right. Logical.
Inference.
Yeah.
That NYCFC's coach cornered him and punched him in the face.
Bold.
So this is the first public mention of this after 2 months. Right?
Where was the PSRA on this one?
Yeah, I don't know. And apparently the league had pulled the footage, but and sent it to MLS, but wherever this was alleged to have taken place, according to Toronto, was either not in an area covered by cameras or the camera wasn't working.
Convenient.
So, I mean, who knows?
Right.
Right. But what it struck me is okay, this takes 2 months to come out after the teams have a post-game fight. I think it's probably fair to assume that there was some type of high-spirited exchange 2 months ago. But since I don't follow those games, I would have no clue what that was. And then 2, for a coach to come out, and NYCFC's coach has denied that he punched any players. For a coach to come out and to say, unambiguously, he punched one of my players in the face 2 months ago, I kind of feel like this is a situation where one or the other coach should not be employed a month from now, right? Either you get kicked out of the league for punching a player as a coach,
or you get kicked out for lying about saying another coach punched a player when it didn't happen.
Yeah, it strikes me as a real serious thing to say about somebody.
You know what's funny about this too? If this had just come out and he would have said, 2 months ago, this guy punched my player in the face, I would say bullshit unless I see some footage. But the fact that they went and had a fight on the field, that tells me somebody believes something happened. They went and they dumbed out after this game. They were pissed off. And it feels like the reaction that we saw on the field almost lends credibility to the accusation, because it's well, yeah, that would lead to an on-field brawl. It would be on site the next time you saw someone. All right, so let me ask it to you this way, Grayson. Does MLS have a backstage, behind-the-scenes camera problem? Do they have a security camera problem?
I don't know, but I do think that if there is footage of, say, a locker room type situation or some type of event that results in punishment, they should release the footage.
Yeah.
Unless there's something extremely sensitive on it.
All right, let's put it this way. Let's pretend that there is an optional add-on service that you can subscribe to. So instead of MLS League Pass, it's MLS League Pass Plus. It's in addition to your MLS League Pass subscription. What's the dollar amount you would be willing to pay per month to know that you will get a absolute unedited live release of all surveillance footage of incidents within 24 hours of them happening? Like, this would have guaranteed you got the Miazga tape immediately after the pizza incident. You would have gotten the fight, the coach punch immediately after that. You don't know if you're going to get anything in any given month. You got to pay your fee and just hope something comes out. What are you paying per month for that service?
Okay, so without any promise of any specific thing, of any one specific thing happening, I would probably pay like a $10 add-on,
right,
for something like that. But knowing that the Miazga tape is out there,
yeah,
and it is being disgracefully
hidden,
withheld from us, I'll put this out there: if I get the full unedited tape of everything that they have about Miazga going to the ref's locker room or whatever else happened, I'll pay MLS $50 a month for the rest of my life.
Yeah. How about this? I know JD Vance and Sherrod Brown are big listeners of the Postcast. One of the two of you sponsor a bill in the United States Congress that says that any stadium or any sports league that takes even $1 of public money must immediately release all footage captured in said facility and must make all records in said facility subject to the Freedom of Information Act. If you want to hide the footage for what's going on, and pay for your own damn stadiums. How about that?
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Yeah, it's the public. It's the public's building, God damn it.
And I just think, if you're going to make competitive competition altering decisions based on this stuff,
yeah,
then I think it's fair to give fans every piece of information that you have based that decision on. And with the Miazga case, which, we're going to talk about this forever.
Yeah, until I see a goddamn tape, it's not going away. It's a story for me.
With the Miazga case, you have the people who stupidly, incorrectly say, well, he went into the ref's locker room, end of story. Well, if that was end of story, then all they needed to do was say, did you go in there? Yep. All right.
Yeah.
3 games. Right?
Right.
Instead, they took like detailed testimony about everything that happened around it, down to what was on the tray.
Yeah.
And they got conflicting testimony on all these different kinds of details. And they conducted this apparently long, drawn out hearing, which we're never going to get like a write-up of from Major League Soccer about what statements were given, what questions were asked, what specific factual findings of like credibility and whatever were made. We didn't get any of that. We're not going to get any of that. But if you're going to have that detailed of a fact finding, then clearly the specific facts matter.
Yeah. Context is for kings.
And so, all we've asked for was the context.
Yeah.
And with this thing, right? Like, they have to write out whether they think this coach punched the player or not.
Yeah.
And if they think he didn't punch the player, who lied?
Yeah.
Who lied about it? Right? Like, I want to know. Like,
yeah.
This is not.
Get these people under oath. Let's get some fucking depositions going right here.
This is not the Grippo's spice recipe.
No.
Okay? Like, I don't know. Like, can you lie about a coach punching you in the face, or lie about a coach punching one of your players in the face and just skate? Can you punch a player in the face more likely than not and skate? I don't know. I do know the league fired a guy for making a okay symbol in a picture.
Right. We still don't know what Bruce Arena's done either.
We still don't know what Bruce Arena's done.
Right. Bruce Arena is looking for work right now. and a guy that may have assaulted a player is walking scot-free. The only
It was
thing
reported that he was cleared to get a job back in the league.
Yeah.
And league media was linking him to all kinds of jobs. And then they were like,
Psych.
well, actually, it turns out he wasn't cleared. We're not going to tell you who lied to us about that or explain really any part of what happened to our reporting there and how that broke down.
Bullshit.
And we haven't heard boo about it since.
No. And I'm going to keep bringing it up. We still don't know what Bruce Arena did. And, there's this league. It's not going to be an MLS segment without talking about this league. This league, the transparency sucks. And this kind of shit wouldn't be tolerated. Can you imagine if there was I'm trying to think who it would be. Andy Reid was banned from coaching in the NFL, just banned. And he was fired by Kansas City. And they didn't tell you why or what he did or what he has to do to get back in the league. It's just he's been suspended without pay. And look over there. It's Lionel Messi. It's Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. The only other part of this story that's weird to me is if I was a teammate with a dude that got punched in the face by an opposing coach after a game, I feel like we would be rolling over there with the homies to take care of some shit. I feel like that would not be something where he comes back and tells us about it and we're all like, oh, we'll get him back in 2 months. I feel like it would go down.
Maybe that's what they did.
Oh, shit.
You think they did it in the... I don't know. They did it in the, only way that they really reasonably could.
Yeah. No, I think it would have been in the parking lot that day. We would have followed the coach back to wherever his car was, and we would have taken it out of his ass right there. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's this league is, I don't know. This league is so desperate for anyone to pay attention to it. Why not just release the tape? Release all these tapes and just let them air on Sports Center and let that be the story. And then if you're interested about it, maybe you'll cough up the cash to Tim Apple in order to pay to watch this league. Continuing on with this league, San Diego. Our friends are bitter rivals to the West. Go fuck yourself, San Diego. As always, we're not into the podcast there. I just felt compelled to say it since I owe everyone one from the last episode where they didn't hear it. They have been linked to quite literally everyone for player signings, including, I believe, you were saying Mehmet Ochoa, Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City. There was another one just today.
Sergio
Ramos.
And I think Chucky Lozano is all but confirmed. I don't think officially confirmed, but I think all but confirmed.
So I ask you, Grayson, with trepidation in my heart, is our rival going to be good?
Maybe, but not because they signed Memo Ochoa.
No.
Or
I mean, De Bruyne is pretty good though.
Okay, so I think Lozano would be a really nice signing, kind of in every way.
Yeah.
And is a player who has this is bold and it's overstating it, but I would say has Vela potential for an expansion team.
Yeah.
If you build a good roster otherwise, but I also think that you don't have to be as I think that you could there's a lot of ways you could build a roster around Chucky Lozano that would be successful in MLS.
Yeah.
With De Bruyne, I know they're different players, but do you remember when NYCFC signed Pirlo?
Yeah.
And Pirlo was good in Serie A before he signed with NYCFC, and he was good in Serie A after he left NYCFC, I think.
Yeah.
One of the issues with Pirlo was he wasn't going to be doing a lot of running. And he retired it from NYCFC.
Yeah.
So he didn't play in Serie A after. But one of the issues with Pirlo was like he wasn't going to do a lot of running. He wasn't going to do any defending. And it's tough to have like a luxury type player in MLS. And then MLS isn't as tactical of a league as Serie A.
Right.
And, Pirlo can ping these perfect passes all day, but like somebody's got to be in a position to receive his pass.
Right.
And then somebody's got to do something with it.
It's, to a certain extent, it was kind of an argument that we made with Brenner that hasn't really borne out. But when I say and that's that there are some players where their skill set requires other good players to be around them, that their skill set isn't maximized. If, like Pirlo, his skill set isn't maximized if he's pinging perfect balls to guys that are making $150,000. It just doesn't work as well.
And I think Sim de Jong, was decent in the Eredivisie after he left us. He's not the same class as De Bruyne, obviously, but he was a guy who could like play in Europe, with a certain style, but was not the kind of player who was going to do very well in MLS. I love the guy, but like Medunjanin was an extremely limited player, for MLS, and I think he did a lot of stuff for us when we were terrible. But I don't think that if he was still an important player of the team, we'd be as good as we are.
No. And it's funny too. It's funny that how one of the hallmarks of the Jaap Stam era of FC Cincinnati was we signed players that had a history and a footage of them being technically proficient, but the speed of this game was too much for them. And the speed of MLS. Everyone's fast in this league. Everything happens fast. Games tend to get wide open a lot faster than they do in other countries. And right now, if you look at this FC Cincinnati team, why are they so good? It's because just about everybody on the team can run. And everybody on the team can defend. Everybody on the team can track back. Like, if you had to look at the optimum 11 for FC Cincinnati, who's the worst athlete on that group?
I mean, Lucho, right?
Maybe he's fast though, and his quick twitch.
Fast?
Yeah, and his quick twitch
really
is
quick.
Yeah,
he's extremely quick.
Maybe Ian Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy's like strong, and Corey Baird is Corey Baird in our 11.
Yeah, I'll give you Corey Baird. Maybe, but like they're all fast. They're all really
fast.
Yeah. So's Miazga is sneaky.
Is pretty fast.
Robinson is sneaky fast. Like, it doesn't look like a guy that big should be as fast as he is. But that was
fast.
That was the secret sauce, I think, that like changed things for FC Cincinnati with the Noonan and Albright, was that they realized this team was slow. Like, they might have been tactically proficient, but you had guys like Kamahilo Makocho, that were just, they couldn't run any longer, and they just got run off the field. Medunjanin was the same way, technically proficient, but the guy was just, he laterally slow, up and down pace slow. You can't play that way in this league. I think that shocks a lot of people that are coming over from Europe. Doesn't impact a guy like Giroud as much, where they're just going to stand around and wait for service. But if you're not going to be a player like that, you better be able to go box to box and defend in this league.
I mean, so because like De Bruyne is going to have to be like a pretty high usage player for them if he signs. And yeah, like he could absolutely kill it. And I would, if I had to bet, I'd bet on him killing it. But you could kind of see a scenario where he's not super checked in.
Right.
And he's like frustrated with his teammates, and they didn't do a great job with the build otherwise.
No.
But
and we learned too, and we learned this the hard way, and I think every team learns this, is that it's real easy to attract the top end players. What wins and loses you in this league is what does your roster look like in your TAM and in your supplemental roster? Like, where are you getting the bulk of your minutes from?
How good would Busquets be if Messi and friends weren't around him? Like, if you plopped Messi on 2020, not Messi, pop Messi anywhere, it'll be fine. But if you had plopped Busquets on like 2021 FC Cincinnati,
not
or
good.
2019 FC Cincinnati, right? Or
I don't think it would have mattered. I don't think he would have been good. I don't think he would have helped. The other interesting thing that I'm going to keep your eye on with San Diego, and we'll move on after this. There's an interesting trend in MLS that I'm keeping an eye on, that there's a lot of teams in this league. You know, we came into the league like a wet fart and couldn't get out of our own way for the better part of 3 years. And it was infuriating to see a lot of these other expansion teams come in and immediately have success. But it's funny how that is kind of fleeting for expansion teams. A lot of them come in, they do very, very well in season one, make the playoffs, things looking good, and a lot of them can't sustain. I mean, you look at St. Louis last year, that they were rattling off, you know, points records for an expansion team. They're barely hanging on in 9th place right now in the West. And they're okay. They're not great. They've only won 3 games this year. Austin came into the league gangbusters. They were dog shit last year. Now they're in 7th place, in 8th place. They're kind of just lingering around. Nashville makes the playoffs their first year, and they've been kind of crap since then. 13th place right now. The only team that really has had, you know, a little bit of sustained success-ish, where they haven't, you know, completely collapsed, Charlotte, maybe, but I don't think they made the playoffs last year, did they? Don't fact check me on this. They did. They made the play-in game. There we go. So
yeah, but you know, Minnesota was not as bad as we were, but they were pretty bad for a couple of years. They looked like they were going to contend for the West in like their 3rd or 4th season, but they've been decidedly mediocre since then. I mean, they've been really good so far this year, but yeah, I mean, it seems like not a lot of teams not a lot of teams were good from the beginning and stayed good. I mean, yeah. LAFC.
That's it. And they've got the extra resources that comes with playing in LA.
And they've made, you know, good.
They've got good
roster decisions.
Yeah. No, they've got some really smart soccer people there. And they were kind of.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they're kind of like a model for how you want to do things. They came into the LA market and kind of ate Galaxy's lunch right from jump.
And the last I want to say is on Sergio Ramos potentially to San Diego. If they don't let him, I think that's one that might not be worth your DP spot if they don't let him like beat the shit out of guys. But if they don't call him tightly enough, like, you know, you might see like, you know, some like who was it? Nigel de Jong, like career-ending tackles.
Yeah. Just horror show after horror show. Oh boy, watch out! Lock up your ankles. All right. Other big news, leaving MLS for the time being. They've got a new manager up in the Great White North of Canada. And that's going to be one Jesse Marsh to Canada as the new Canadian men's national team manager. My favorite part of this story, and I'm just going to go ahead and read this verbatim because it is just very profoundly funny to me. The way that this deal gets done is some of the most MLS shit of all time. I'm going to read it right here. The appointment of Marsh is assisted by major philanthropic contributions from the owners of the 3 Canadian-based MLS clubs: Vancouver Whitecaps, Joey Saputo, who is Montreal Impact, and the Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Group, who owns Toronto FC, and supplemented by other private donors. In recognition of their significant philanthropic support, Marsh's position will be formally titled as the MLS Canada men's national team head coach during the initial term of his initial contract. It's not enough that we've got the MLS Cup playoffs presented by Audi. Now we have the Canadian men's soccer team coach presented by MLS. They will have to, in all correspondence, in all official, reporting, in all the websites and everything like that, they will have to include Major League Soccer in the title that Jesse Marsch has, coaching a national team outside the United States. My reaction was, I love this league so much. What was yours?
I thought it was funny that the blurb I was reading it in, kind of, I don't know, like defensively said, "Oh, this is just like how a lot of universities have endowed professorships." There's like the Exxon Shell BP geological professor of there not being climate change.
Yeah, chair for environmental studies.
Or how, Supreme Court justices sometimes are endowed.
Yeah.
The Harlan Crow justice of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, we don't know what's underneath that robe. It could be huge. We have no idea. Sean Miller, the head coach of Xavier basketball, your favorite team and my favorite team, his official title is the Sedler family men's head basketball coach, presumably because the Sedler family was financially generous when the Jesuits came calling and saying, we want to rid ourselves of Travis Steele.
It's funny that the league is a majority United States league.
Yeah.
And it's the Canadian owners by the reporting, but
right. But it's a single entity. It's a single entity.
No, but it's not the operating entities paying. It's the specific owners, isn't it?
It wasn't clear to me. If it was the specific owners ponying up, why are they using the league name? Why wouldn't it be the Saputo Maple Leaf? Like, why wouldn't they use their individual capacity? Why is it the Major League Soccer? Like, that makes me think. That makes me think it's coming out of the goddamn kitty.
But the comment somebody made that was funny is that this is actually the second time that Saputo has paid Marsch not to coach the professional team that he owns, because Marsch had previously coached Montreal and was fired, and I think had time left on his deal.
Joey Saputo seems like a wild character. I would love to get a beer and just learn more about this guy.
I like that it gives hope to us, where this is a guy who made a jump from podcasting to being a national team coach.
Oh, Marsch. I thought you were saying Saputo. I was like,
no, Marsch.
Okay.
Jesse Marsch made a jump from podcasting.
Yes.
And being, I would say a full-time hater, which respect for sure.
Yeah, no, I aspire to be a full-time hater.
But I do love that he was talking trash about, like, as far as I could tell, his only role in his brief lifetime as a media analyst was to talk shit about Greg.
Right.
And then, so,
which fair play,
whatever, fine.
Yeah.
But that for a period of time, for at least a period of that time, he was at least in discussions to potentially become the Canadian men's national team coach. Because it's not like they called him up yesterday and said, "Hey, you want to do this?"
How many people out there today who are account holders on the Bird app that have USMNT in their name with an American flag emoji, who are Greg out? How many of them suddenly became fans of Canada as a result of this move?
I think they have no choice.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they have to now.
I think if your whole thing is about complaining about Berhalter and you got like a Greg Osama bin Laden avatar
right
on Twitter, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Right? Either support the Canadian men's national team or delete your account.
I agree.
Because
delete your account,
you have an American you can support.
Yeah. You know what else people forget about Jesse Marsch? So in the aftermath of the Red Bulls FC Cincinnati Open Cup match, and I believe that was 2017, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Seems like only yesterday. 2017. In the aftermath of this match, Jesse Marsch cuts an interview with ESPN FC, or one of the shows that they've since canceled, where he daps up the city of Cincinnati a ton and says that Cincinnati was the best soccer environment he ever experienced. But then goes on to say, not that we should be joining MLS or not that we deserve something, but rather that it forms an argument for why America needs to embrace promotion and relegation. So really and truly, if you are...
Is that really what he said?
Yeah, it's really what he said.
I think I'd only ever heard the first part of the quote.
Yeah, no, he said, I want to see America adopt promotion and relegation because it makes everything just mean more. So what you have, if you are a Greg Extra G hater, is you have your savior, my friends. You have a man who is not Greg Berhalter, who should be the rightful manager in your minds of the U.S. men's national team, who, like you, also believes that a lack of pro-rel is holding America back. All that together, I think that it's time for you to put your money where your mouth is, where so many Hollywood celebrities have failed. I think it's time for you to move to Canada, folks, if you're still a serial Greg Berhalter hater, pro-rel truther online. Your savior resides in the Great White North.
Okay, I think I know why I never heard the promotion and relegation part of the quote, and I'm being dead serious.
Yeah?
That part does not make it into the MLSsoccer.com
Sure doesn't.
recap. And I think that's the only place I ever read his quotes.
Yeah.
That rules.
Yeah.
The MLS was like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that part. We're not going to include it.
The Ministry of Truth has declared that this portion of the quote is unsuitable for audiences of American soccer. If you'll just look right at the little red flashy thingy right here, we will ensure that your eyes check out after hearing what Jesse Marsch had to say about this.
And it's literally the headline of the ESPN article.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Awesome.
And now he's getting paid by the single entity to coach the Canadian national team.
Fucking rules. Scale of 10 to 15. How excited are you for the first Jesse Marsch Greg Berhalter matchup between the United States and Canada?
I think it's got to be here.
Oh yeah,
I think it's got to be here.
Yeah,
like it's the only place that makes sense for it. And I'm in the moment excited about it. I'll forget about it by tomorrow probably.
Right.
But then whenever they announce the game, I'll get re-excited for it.
Right. Like that little part of me that like the anti-Red Bulls part will kick in and I'll be like, hey, just fuck this guy.
They have to let them cut promos. Like Jesse talking all kinds of shit. And then Greg just saying like anodyne quotes about like leadership and management and like passing, the clipboard behind his back to an assistant coach.
Do you know how many more friendlies I would watch if the friendly started out with, instead of the two managers walking out and they exchange those stupid banners that I'm sure get thrown away immediately, that if they just had the two managers walk out, toss each of them a house mic and say, each one of you has 3 minutes to cut a promo on the other one. That would just be electric content. All the money in the world, I would show up for watch these things.
So I'm not a Greg hater. Like I've been critical of his player selection mostly in the past.
Right.
But like being realistic, like, the pool of realistic managers for the U.S. men's national team is limited. And I don't think like Jesse is going to do any better. No. And I think it's mostly driven by the players.
Right. It's like, I don't give a shit because we're never going to win a World Cup. So getting mad about this is weird.
My complaint about Greg is that he's a walking LinkedIn post. And he's probably read I guarantee you he's read 400 books in his life. Not a single one of them was fiction.
Right.
They were all the 16-minute meeting.
Or Who Moved My Cheese, his favorite book of all time that he quotes.
Right. It's like this couldn't have been an email.
Right.
is like the type of book that Greg Berhalter reads.
Right. Like he unironically signs up for business seminars at hotels near the airport just because he wants to hear people talk.
He would be very easy to trick into going to some place to be kidnapped. Like you just tell him you want him to speak to conference of thought leaders in the organizational psychology and culture space.
Right.
And like he'll be there yesterday. He's like, I'll pay my own way.
Right. And like you just get him into the hotel business suite, and then you pretend like you're micing him up, and then just lock the door and run, and he just never is heard from again. Yeah. Steal his organs. What? All right, let's get out of here with this last topic. This one's a little more fun. Your good friend, my good friend, Joseph Mame from Twitter set the internet on fire with his proposed, if it started today, Premier League playoffs using the Audi MLS Cup format. He tweets out what it would be right now. What I love about this more than anything else is, number one, it's very clear that he just took the MLS Cup playoffs and photoshopped in the Lionhead Premier League logo, because the Audi logo and the sponsorship is still there. The MLS trophy is still in the background of this, which I love. And for some reason, he decides to break the Premier League into East and West, which makes no goddamn sense based on the geography of England. Well, I guess every country has an East and a West if you squint hard enough.
Space, there's no directions in space. Just flip it.
Yeah. Famously, this undid Khan in Star Trek 2. Yeah. So this set off a little bit of a kerfuffle online. I'm looking at this right here. Got some compelling first round matchups. You'd have the Merseyside Derby in the first round on the West bracket between Liverpool and Everton as a 2-7 matchup. Loving Chelsea's path to the title with their form 3-6 matchup with Crystal Palace. Tottenham and Fulham up at the top of the bracket. Get some good Tony Khan tweets going on here. I think that if they did this, it would be the most watched sporting event on the planet by a long shot, as long as a World Cup wasn't being played. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, let's do it.
Yeah. This looks electric.
Yeah, and this is obviously was like a bit,
Yeah. There's about 2,000 people on that
who disagree.
Who disagree with that.
But the one that, and like this is my fault, okay?
Yeah.
Because this is where like I'm getting mad online, as I'm seeing people saying like, "Oh, you're devaluing the regular season."
No, I'm not.
It makes the regular season meaningless. It's like, why can't there just be 2 trophies?
Yeah.
Like, why does it make the regular season meaningless that there's another thing you can win a trophy for?
Right?
And then it's like the regular season is the harder trophy to win. It rewards somebody who's excellent from beginning to end. But, the playoffs reward somebody who gets themselves into top form.
Right.
By the end of the year and is peaking late. And that's also like a fun way to build a team, or like a fun thing to find out, right?
You're a crazy country that has You're a crazy country that has a monarchy. It's just the King's Cup or something like that, or the Queen's Cup. And it's awarded after the Premier League trophy is awarded, and it's a separate trophy. This isn't hard.
Yeah, and I do understand the complaints about fixture congestion, which is why I think they would have to, and they should, scrap the FA Cup and the EFL Cup. We don't need those anymore. At
the very least, the football, the EFL Cup. Yeah, at the very least, that sucks. Like, that's, nobody cares about that.
I mean, it seems like redundant, right?
Right.
It's just a closed system cup.
Which is what you're at. You're changing at one closed system cup for a much more exciting, better TV product closed system cup. And Mame has this set up exactly like the MLS format, where the first round is a best of 3. I don't know that I'd do that. I think I'd just do single elimination, lower seed hosts. And if you do that, you're really only talking about like 1, 2, 3, like 4 more games, 5 more games at the end of a season. That's manageable.
The funny thing to me about this, right, is 18 teams
in a 20-team league.
In a 20-team league. That means one of the teams in this playoffs is getting relegated. It's like, this is like your last hurrah. Like, imagine a team getting relegated and going on a run in the Premier League playoff.
But if you win the playoff, you get like saved.
I don't know. Maybe not though, right? Maybe it's just like
what they really
this is our last go.
They really need to do is you would need to shrink the field, I think, a little bit by this. But then you need to combine that with, you got to make it's like, I think that with the NFL playoffs, that on what they call it Super Wild Card Weekend should kick off with a Thursday night game that is between the two worst teams in the NFL, with the winner getting the number 1 overall pick. Like, you can tank your way to that game, but you got to win a game at the end of the year if you want the number 1 overall pick. So the playoffs start on Saturday, but Thursday Night Football is the number 1 pick bowl. So I would do the same thing here, where if all these games kick off on a Saturday, on that Thursday night or that Friday night, play the 18th team and the 17th team in a 1-game relegation playoff, winner take all. Winner stays up, loser goes down. I think that would also be electric.
What if in the NFL they did like the first 10 picks went to the 10 worst teams, but in reverse order? So the team that finished 10th to last
got the first overall pick. I'd love that. That would make some interesting dynamics, I think. I think absolutely.
Because you couldn't just tank straight for it, right? You'd have to try to win some games.
Yeah. No, I'm all in on this too. Like, anything that gets rid of tanking and forces bad teams to have to try is completely hilarious to me.
I like the parity of the league. I like that, there's ways that bad teams can get better. But like, you could probably peel back from that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, especially because like in the NFL, like the value of having the number 1 overall pick isn't quite as earth shattering as it is like in the NBA, where the number 1 overall pick is like Wembanyama, and the drop off to number 2 or number 3 in a lot of years is significant.
And if you're not the Cavs, the hit in the number 1 pick is like pretty good.
Yeah. Or the Detroit Pistons, which apparently can't buy a top lottery pick no matter what they do. So to wrap up on this, I think I don't want to criticize Mr. Mamey. He's a good friend of mine, friend of the podcast, friend of the Post, contributor to the Post. Good overall dude. However, I think he puts a tweet out there that does, as the kids say, some numbies. Looking at this right here, I think the last I looked, he was at close to 500,000 impressions.
I didn't look at that, but it's close to half. It's close to 2,000 likes, over 200 retweets,
a lot of bookmarks and a lot of quote tweets,
comments, 116 bookmarks, and it's like, what are you people into that you're bookmarking this tweet?
Well, yeah, the only reason you bookmark a tweet is you're going to come back to it and roast somebody later. There's no way to roast him for this.
Oh, I thought it was for different. I thought it was for different reasons.
No, you bookmark so you can go back and like check that's like you're collecting receipts for something. Like you bookmark the person that's like, don't worry, Columbus is coming up to own you in Cincinnati. You bookmark. I will see that later.
Somebody bookmarked this because they're like, nah, Wolves are going to get the 4th seed, not the 6th seed.
This clown right here thought we weren't going to make the playoffs. Fuck you. The only way this could have done more numbers, and I'm mad that Mamey didn't do this, is that really this postseason tournament, they should play this in America. Now that the FIFA rules have changed, is that you finish the Premier League and you send them all over and you play this in the United States over the course of like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the players would like it.
They'd absolutely would. Yeah.
You get like bigger rooms. You get to fly charter. You don't have to take like a little like some train through your little bus. Country.
Yeah.
There's, you can drive a big car.
Yeah. Get them all a bunch of
McDonald's.
Yeah, get them all a bunch of like extended cab trucks. They can drive those around. Can experience DoorDash fast food wherever they are, and just make the prize money big enough that they all give a shit. Like make it like I'm sure you could find someone in this country to make like a $500 million or like $1 billion purse for the winner of this the first year. And yeah, why not play in America?
So like Liverpool has to play 4 games.
Yeah,
in a month, you can do that.
2 weeks,
easy.
Yeah. Saturday, Wednesday. Like, yeah, it's like, and most teams will only play one. Most teams will only play one.
Just do like you can do like Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, and then have a week and a half for like to
have the final in New York.
Yeah, and everybody gets a rest, and you get to do all the media stuff, and the players get to have the American lifestyle that they all want while. Still wearing them prestigious badge on their crest. On their chest.
You know what we do? We offer one of those teams the opportunity to train at world-class Mercy Health Training Center in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah,
and that, my friends,
this team gets to play at MLS.
That's That's recruitment right there, baby. Yeah, play this in America. Really piss them off. All right. Well, that's a roundup right there, Grayson. I think Kevin will probably join us for the next segment as we preview the upcoming FC Cincinnati game this weekend against, I'm stalling because I don't know who we play on.
St. Louis. Right?
St. Louis. There we go. I'm focused. We're focused on Atlanta right now. We'll start focusing on St. Louis as soon as that game ends. So stick around and I'll see you back here in segment 3.
Folks, the Post is looking for a summer intern. Yes, this is actually real. We are taking applications right now for a summer intern to help us with social media and content creation. If you are in the journalism, sports journalism, content creation, this has got your curiosity, we want you for very cheap labor and for funny stuff. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of thought going into this other than we think it'd be fun. We do think we have a role sketched out for this person. We'd be more than happy to write you a lovely recommendation and, maybe connect you to some folks in this industry along the way. If you are interested or know somebody who may be interested, check it out on the website. There are links to the website in the description. But going to the website, there will be directions on how to apply as well as the sort of formal job posting there. So if you sound like, you're the type of person for this gig, let us know. And we would love to have a summer intern. This is real. I don't know how else to say this. This is actually real. All right. I am back for part. Oh, did you guys already?
Yeah, we already taped it for you. You're good.
Oh,
yeah. It seemed like you were going to be there for a while.
I did have a soft pretzel at the stadium, so maybe that contributed to things. Well, I hope it was a good conversation.
It was fun. Hey, look at it this way: you get a reason to listen to your own podcast. That never happens.
I love that. I certainly don't listen to it when I edit it, so that's good.
Yeah, we know.
Every once in a while, I get a text message, usually from my dad. He goes, "Hey, did you know you left this in?" Ah, damn it.
Yeah. Just throwing it out there. You missed a bleep in the last episode.
Ah, good.
Yeah, that's all right. MLS missed that too.
Yeah.
He's freewheeling with some of those. Well, anyway, let's move on to a preview of FC Cincinnati hosting one St. Louis City. St. Louis last year.
St. Louis City.
Yeah, you gotta sort of scream it in caps.
It's all caps.
Coming to your city.
Yeah, last year, FC Cincinnati had a tornado-delayed match that saw them lose 5-0, but weirdly win the XG battle, if I remember correctly on that one.
Yeah, I think so.
That was a rough one. Roman took a goal off of his face, which was suboptimal.
Back of his head.
Oh, back of his head. That's what it was.
Yeah, hit the post, hit the back of his head. It's one of the most comedic goals I think I've ever seen.
It's a tough one for a goalkeeper
Not
to take. St. Louis was the expansion Wunderkind, where they went on to go into the top seed in the West and then promptly lose to their geographic rival in the playoffs.
Yeah, St. Louis set all of the expansion records if you ignore the other teams that actually set the expansion records.
Yeah, that little awkward thing where like New York City had actually done more.
Other than the other teams that had done more than St. Louis did the most.
Yes, Chicago won a trophy their first expansion season. Who cares? Don't worry about that.
LAFC had more points.
Yeah, details, facts. Nobody cares about this.
This year, however, it does appear that St. Louis has regressed to the mean a little bit. They did lose to LAFC today, 2-0, and they currently sit 9th place in the Western Conference, and that is good for overall 17th on the table, which is a little lower than 2nd, which is where you will find the Orange in blue. It is a little unfortunate that it does only count the head-to-head history as 1-7 St. Louis because there were some pretty good battles over the years with St. Louis City FC.
But sadly, they were not transitioned to MLS the same way we were. They ceased to exist.
Yeah, so it's
like
funny.
Jimmy got 4 goals against St. Louis.
One of the most dominant single game performances by any FC Cincinnati player in any era.
Yeah, they were thinking about acquiring the branding to St. Louis City FC, and they showed the tape of GB just bodying them. They're like, we can't have that in MLS.
It is funny that like Indy's kind of going through this right now, right? Where like MLS is going to come to town, and do you keep the existing branding? And the St. Louis fans seem to have adapted to their new name and new colors pretty easily.
It happened pretty quickly too. Like as soon as St. Louis City FC said they were folding, their supporters group was like, yep, we're on to the new thing now. Screw this.
Sounds good. I think there is some slight ownership overlap there. Like I think the old USL owners are now a very, very small minority owner of the current thing. So I don't know if they can count it.
I'm so happy that didn't happen here. And I know that there was no chance of that happening here because the ownership group was put together, purpose-built to move this team to MLS. But I was thinking about that when I was watching, or I was on the Bird app, and Tommy G posts his goal calls from Hell is Real with Jimmy McLaughlin doing color. And I want to sit down and I want to listen to one of these games that Jimmy is calling, because in those clips, I'm like, he is really natural at this. And his chemistry with Tommy sounds really, really good. And it made me think there are a lot of guys that are still in the orbit of the FC who, you know, they weren't from here. They weren't drafted here.
Yep.
They didn't even play the majority of their career here. Yet Jimmy's still hanging around. Justin Hoyt still does a podcast with CST.
Ran into Omar Cummings at the game today.
You know, Omar's a Cincinnati college guy, so there's at least some tie here from UC.
But you'd think Colorado would lock up their guy. He has like every record of theirs, you know? Like, it's weird.
Ray Gaddis did a game on the radio with Tommy. Like, but with Jimmy specifically, it's like it's pretty cool that there's still some history. And I've noticed this year there has been a lot more acknowledgement of there's a full history to this club beyond just what happened in MLS. Mm-hmm. And am I paranoid for thinking the reason they're doing it now is because when shit was bad, you don't want to be reminding people that it used to be so much better and the team used to be so much more fun. And now that like there's some MLS history and this team's had some MLS success, okay, we can embrace everyone because we've had multiple eras of success versus when they are dead last. You don't always want to be bringing up like, hey, you know, things used to be good back when we were in the minor leagues.
Yeah, I do think they did a little bit of that of like, hey, remember this? But something has certainly changed either within FC Cincinnati or within MLS, where it does feel like MLS with this year with like Orlando having the throwback kit, right? To their USL,
the weird triple lion thing.
Vancouver as well has an old NASL throwback. The San Jose has a throwback kit. So yeah, they've allowed some of these teams to recognize and dip back into that history. And this is something that we were especially harping about. I want to say it was last year. It was like, or we've mentioned it before on the podcast that like MLS is lacking its own history. And it is weird that MLS doesn't do more to acknowledge the history of the sport, either within these cities or that there is history, say, on the table for these teams to own and to claim that they don't, that I do think that they're the rightful owners to. Like, I think it would be weird if the Philadelphia Union claimed, let's say, Bethlehem Steel, which they have tried to do at certain times. But I think it's fair for FC Cincinnati to claim the USL heritage and for even Vancouver Whitecaps to claim the old NASL Vancouver Whitecaps heritage. I think that's fair.
Sounders, too. I mean, the Sounders have always been pretty good at that. But
Sounders, Timbers, even Montreal a little bit, but yeah.
But that does it just sucks for St. Louis that they had a pretty lengthy history, if I remember correctly, in USL. I don't know. I think leaving the history behind kind of sucks, and I'm happy that FCC has embraced it, and I'm gruntled by how many former players from that era still.
Yeah. I
don't know. And then also you combine like Brandon Vasquez getting hype when they beat Columbus last weekend, and that's cool. That's fun. It's fun when there's an army of people that still remember their time here fondly, and I really love that for us. That just it's a happy feeling.
Yeah. It is nice because, boy, for a couple of years there, a lot of players could not wait to leave this city, and be rid of this team.
To be fair, I couldn't wait to get rid of them as well.
Yeah. Weren't a lot of guys leaving that, say, 2020 team that you really wish
I'd have packed Kamahilo Makocho's bags for him. I was, get the hell out of this city. I'm just, please, anywhere but here.
Oh, God.
St. Louis City. How about it?
Yeah. They got a red card in their game against LAFC.
Love that for us.
It was one of the Marcanic twins. Not Nick. Anthony, that's the other one.
Nick is balling a little bit in USL.
Yeah, which Grayson, I think, pointed out in the Discord. We do not have his MLS rights. I don't know if somebody else is allowed to put him on discovery lists, but by not making a sort of bona fide offer to him when he left, that was it. So he would be a free agent once he is out of his Charleston contract. I don't know. How does that work, though? I guess he could be on somebody's discovery rights list.
He could be on somebody's discovery rights list, but we lost our priority for him.
Gotcha.
Through the various processes.
Yeah, he cannot stop scoring in USL. For whatever it's worth. Charleston Battery. Look at him up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know too much about this whole St. Louis City team, other than João Klaus.
Roman.
Yeah, a worse Roman in goal.
Worse Roman.
German named João Klaus living in Brazil.
No, a Brazilian named João Klaus.
Sure.
I just, you know what? Whenever I hear a German living in South America, I ask a lot of questions.
As you should.
I mostly just think the questions.
Senor Klaus here.
My family has always lived here. What are you talking about?
Chris Durkin's been pretty good for them. I don't know. Tim Parker has been less so far this year. That's all I got. Yeah. Yeah, he looks fun. Vasilev. I'm just going to name random players
just keep naming
on their roster.
As long as we're naming random people.
Please.
Our young friend from FCC2, was it Stefan Chirilla?
Chirilla?
Yeah, Chirilla.
Chirilla signs a contract with the FC, homegrown. We going to see him at some point this year?
Well, the homegrown contract starts next year.
But we can still see him for a couple matches this year.
We could still see him. They could still loan him up from the 2 team for like a match or two.
So our young strikers can get even younger.
If they just want to have someone that Kevin Kelsy can call kid.
He felt nervous being the youngest player.
We didn't talk about this while you were on the can, Kevin. We didn't talk about it in segment 1. Are we concerned Kevin Kelsy is hurt? Have we heard any updates about that, or was it precautionary?
Everyone in Discord said it was just cramps. I'm assuming that's what they then said on the broadcast.
He didn't go to the locker room or like get treatment.
The thing that concerned me, though, is he slipped or slid or something like that.
Yeah.
And then just didn't get up. And
well, he got up. He took like 2 steps and it was like, nope, back to the ground.
Yeah, that was concerning.
I was curious maybe, though, like he hasn't played this many minutes in a really long time.
Yeah.
That maybe that the word came from the bench. Hey, we're planning on subbing you out anyway. Just hang loose for another second. Because they already had Santos up and getting kind of moving around.
Yeah.
For a potential sub in.
it looked like, because they showed him Noonan up on the big screen briefly, it looked like he was yelling at Kelsy to sit back down, which also kind of concerned me that, like, I don't know what was going on, but the coach telling him to sit back down probably isn't good overall, but maybe it was fine.
It's better than him saying, I need to sit back down because I'm so hurt.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's a good thing. We owe St. Louis a beatdown in this game. If there was ever a game to get right on the idea of like we can win by more than one goal, this is the game to do it in right here.
A 4-goal victory, a 4-goal margin of victory here would level the series, as it were, because they have us 5-1.
The Kip Keller revenge game.
Ooh, Kip Keller at striker. I like it.
Roman has to keep a clean sheet in this game. For his own mental sanity, he has to keep a clean sheet.
Or at least beat the other Roman, right? Like, just, this is a big one.
We established in the interview that he keeps tabs, that he wants to be the better Roman. He wants
to be the better Roman, yeah.
Being the better Roman may, in fact, be his Roman Empire.
Wow. Well done.
Would you choose the Roman Empire or the bear?
Or the Berkey? That's good. I like that, Chief. I don't know what else to say about this game other than we should make predictions.
Okay, we always predict scores. Let's predict this. I want you to predict who's your striker pairing.
Okay.
Because that's the real intrigue right now, and a final score. And Kevin, you lead off.
I like this. Okay, I am going to go. I have no injury update on Kevin Kelsy, so I will assume he is healthy. I will go Kevin Kelsy, Dado Valenzuela up top. Final answer: FC Cincinnati wins 3-2.
I'm going to say Kevin Kelsey, Yuya Kubo. The FC wins 1-0.
I'm going to say Kevin Kelsey, Yuya Kubo. No, take the back. Kevin Kelsey, Corey Baird.
Wow.
Ooh. The FC wins 3-0.
Wow.
No, I'll say 2-0. Okay. Because we said the better Roman. Yeah. I think Caesar beat Pompey and Marcus Licinius Crassus 2-0. And that he had both of them killed. And he was the better Roman.
That'll do it.
Yeah. I think often of it.
I like that. We have 3 different striker pairings. We have 3 different goal predictions. I love it.
6 in a row would be nice.
That'd be crazy. Lucho has his something.
5 in a row was cool. You know what's cooler?
6 in a row.
6 in a row.
Lucho
2
has
chicks at the same time. All right.
Nothing. My cousin's broke. He does nothing all day.
My cousin's broke. He doesn't do shit.
Lucho has a goal contribution in 5 running matches. This ties his club record with FC Cincinnati with 5. Does he make it 6?
Yes.
Yeah, Lucho's going to have a goal contribution every game this season for the rest of the season.
And here's how it's going to happen. Lucho is going to dribble down to the end line, and then he's going to kick the ball back towards Kevin Kelsey, who will look first to see if someone is at the far post. And if someone is there, he will go to the near post.
Of
but
course.
if not, he will stay at the far post and score.
Because he's brilliant.
He is. His logic is irrefutable.
Oh, God. Well, there we go. Well, we'll have something to talk about on Sunday then. So, yeah. In the meantime, Chief, do you have a parting word for us? I'm curious how you're going to end this.
Yeah, I know.
Things to think about here.
I didn't plan on this at all. I don't know. You know what? Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. I also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.